If someone came along and gave you $672,768,000 and told you that you have to spend every hour $960, which if you will do the math, then every hour if you're spending 960, you'll end up spending $23,040 in a day. And if you were to do the whole year, you would have to spend $8,409,600. Okay? And they told you that you have no choice. You have to spend this money. But the choice is that you can buy whatever you like. Okay? So you have $672,768,000 that has been given to you, and you have no choice in spending. You have to spend it. Okay? So every hour you're spending $960 and you're buying something. Okay? And every day you're spending $23,040 and you have to spend it. Like, there's no choice. Okay? But you can buy whatever you like. All right. And then, of course, once a year goes by, you have spent, $8,409,600. If you were to think about that, and the correlation that I'm going to make on this is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you 672,768,000 breaths. And He has told you that you have to spend it. Meaning, the only way you cannot spend those breaths is if you stop taking a breath. And which we know we don't have a choice if you want to stay alive. And that 672,768,000 are the breaths that a person will take in an average life of 80 years. So you're going to be taking 960 breaths an hour, and in a day you'll be taking 23,040 breaths. And that would translate in a year, which is 8,409,600 breaths. And then you multiply that by 80, you get that figure of 672,768,000 breaths. And the reason why I was not rounding it off and I was telling you exactly what the averages were is because if you were to ask a dying person that these 2 breaths or 4 breaths or 5 breaths or 10 breaths, I'll give you certain amount of money and you can take another 5 breaths. They will not be rounding it off. They will say, okay, for each breath, I will give you so much. Right? That we will only know when we are taking those last breaths, and we will realize that each breath, what value it has. So you can't even round it off. See, one thing is guaranteed in this life, that we're going to die. You're going to die, I'm going to die. And the other thing that is guaranteed is if you're alive, you are going to take a breath. We don't need to do a philosophical discussion. We don't have to bring hadith. We don't have to bring Quran. We don't have to bring the scientific discoveries. We don't have to bring, the top scientists together, NASA. We don't have to get, become a rocket scientist. We don't have to have the immense knowledge to be able to come to this conclusion. Every single human being who's aware understands that you're going to die, that a person is going to die, and that for us to be alive, we have to take a breath. So the breaths are counted. Why? Because there will come a time when you're not going to be breathing, when I'm not going to be breathing. And that is the time when I will die. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us in this world. He gave us a currency. It was not just like whatever. No, He gave us a currency, and that is the currency is the breaths. And He told us that you can spend this. You will have to spend it. Not that you decide I'm not going to spend it one day. No, you're going to have to spend it every single day. Every single minute you're going to take 16 of those breaths. You're going to spend $16 every single minute. And in an hour, you're going to have to spend $960 every hour. You have to spend it. Every day, you're going to have to spend 23,040 of that currency, of the breaths, of that dollars. Okay. Whatever you want to calculate as. But with those breaths that are counted for, that I've given to you, I'm not giving you the choice not to spend it. What I am giving you the choice of is what you're going to buy. And whatever you're going to buy, that is what you will have for eternity. If you bought things that were temporary, that were going to be only for 70 years, 60 years, 40 years, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 minute. If they were temporary, the things that you bought, they're going to finish. After the expiry date of 1 hour, or the expiry date of 10 years, or expiry date of 8 years, it's going to expire. Or you can buy something which does not have an expiry date. You can buy something that is going to be there forever. The choice is up to you to buy whatever you like, but the choice is not about spending. You have to spend it. So when a person thinks that they are bored, that they don't have anything to do, that they're not challenged anymore, they feel that they are in the same rut, same sort of cycle, same schedule, get up, do breakfast, brush your teeth, go to work, sit down on the PS4, Xbox, clock in 4 hours, 6 hours, watch Netflix shows. That is that particular episode that I still have to watch. That season I have to still watch. I have to go on YouTube and go and search out these videos, because these are the people that I've subscribed to, and I'm going to be following them, and they're going to tell me all of these hacks, for example, life hacks that I'm never going to be able to use, but it's interesting to watch. Or I'm going to go on to that YouTube channel where I'm going to know how to play the game that I'm playing, and that is going to, help me with go through those levels. Or the person going to work, I'm going to go through the corporate ladder so that I can get to that point where I can become a VP or a C-level executive. And all of these schedules and all of these meetings I have to do, and I have to do that much research to be able to do this. Or the person going to university thinking that I'm going to go and study, and then I will have the degree so that I can become a lawyer or doctor, and then that way my life is going to be set and I'm going to be comfortable. I'll be able to buy the Tesla. I'll be able to have the 10,000 square foot house. I'll go and get the boats and the yachts, and I will go on vacations, and I will do such and such. All of these things that I just said to you, they are spending. But what are they getting? What are they buying? They have no choice but to spend those breaths. They are going to spend 960 breaths in an hour. They have no choice. They will spend 23,040 breaths in a day. They have no choice. But what did they get in return? If they got something in return that has an expiry date, then once that thing expires, the money, the breaths that they spent to get it, once that thing perishes in their hands, when that fades away, when that movie stops, when that YouTube video stops, when that game that you were playing stops, when your career is finished, when you're laid off, when your university degree got you to that point, and that house that you were living is now a house that you cannot even sleep in it because of the stress and mental anxiety that you have of achieving that house of 10,000 square feet, getting the mortgage of $6,000 or $7,000 a month, or $3,000 or $4,000 a month. When you get that, what do you get in your hands? Just regret and guilt and remorse. But if you had taken those 960 breaths in that hour, and you had lived the life with God consciousness, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being in your frontal cortex here, in each of your thoughts and in each of your emotions, and in each of your aspirations, and in each of your movements, and in each of your words, and you live this life, and you were supposed to spend the 960 breaths an hour anyways. But if in that hour you bought something that does not have an expiry date, that would last you forever, then at the end of the hour, you will not have regrets, you will not have remorse, you will have peace. Because the byproduct of buying something that does not have an expiry date, which is going to last you forever, the byproduct of that is peace, contentment. And if in that day you took 23,040 breaths, and before you ended that day, you looked upon your day and you calculated how many things did I buy that were eternal, and how many things did I buy that are going to expire today or tomorrow. And if you saw that you had bought wrong today, and you asked for forgiveness, and you judged yourself and said, I'm sorry, I did not spend my breath in the way that I should have. I am sleeping now. I'm coming to you, because when you go to sleep, it is a small death. I'm coming to you, and I will beg you to give me another chance so that I can come that day and spend 23,040 breaths and buy things that are going to be everlasting, not the ones that is going to expire. We don't have an unlimited number of breaths. We have a calculated number of breaths. And this calculation of 672,768,000 breaths is for a person who lives to be 80 years old. Look at your life. I have to look at mine. I have spent more than half of my capital. I only have half left. And when I look at my hands, what I bought, I don't see. I don't see. I don't see the things that are going to stay with me forever. The things that I do see that are going to stay with me forever are not of light, but of darkness. It's up to you and I to take our breaths as precious. If you understand this, that each minute, the 16 breaths that you're taking are the most precious thing that you have. It's more precious than any money. It's more precious than anything. Just think of that 1 hour where you have spent your 960 breaths. Look at your hands. What did you buy? And if you bought wrong, take that before you get into the other hour of spending. Take a moment and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. Ask Him to give you the ability to spend well, to buy those things that does not have an expiry date. And that doesn't mean that, you don't get up from the musalla or you always have the tasbih in your hands. And, this is a wrong sort of perception we have about worship or being the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this sort of perception or paradigm has to shift, especially for the religious people. The people who are saying that they are religious or they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have to shift that. You see, what is required in order for you to be able to buy things that are eternal is you have to become a God-conscious person. And that doesn't just mean God-conscious. When we say it's difficult to understand because we don't know what consciousness is. So far, no scientist, no philosopher, no thinker has been able to come to a definition of consciousness that actually cannot be objected to or cannot be said that you're wrong. So we still don't know what consciousness is. When it comes to God, of course, our mind cannot comprehend. We just know the word God, we know the meaning, but how He is, what He is, where He is, and all that, we just don't know. So when you say God consciousness, you're bringing up two words that nobody knows what they mean. They just have an idea, or they have accepted the idea as a definition, and they say that, okay, I know the meaning. If I was to say this, that you who are aware of yourself, and that awareness is of two kinds. One is the awareness that you exist, and that's constant. If somebody was to ask you a question, do you exist? You will say yes. Now this question is just about your awareness that you exist. And then they were to ask the question, how do you feel? I feel happy, I feel sad, or what are you going to do? I'm going to do such and such. Or are things, are things working out for you? Or they might ask, are you bored? Are you excited? Are you, are you well? Are you healthy? Right? All of these things are dynamic. They keep on changing. One day you're happy, 1 hour you're happy, second hour you're sad. 1 minute you're sad, the next minute you're happy. So these things, they keep on changing for a person. But if someone asks you, do you exist? You will say yes. And that yes is an awareness that is void of anything that is dynamic, moving, right? Everything else that is moving, you associate to that awareness, which is constant. But actually, most of the time, we are so much engulfed in our own emotions, in the things that we have to do, or our health, or the video that you're watching, or the movie that you're watching. You become so engulfed into it. Your concentration, your focus is so much that you stop becoming aware that you exist. It seems as if what you're doing or what you're feeling or what you're saying is who you are. That you are the movie now. That you are the video of YouTube now. You are the game now. You are, the task that you have to do. You are the assignment now. Right? You are the meeting now. Right? You are the groceries now. You become that. And you forget about you that exists, that is static. But if you could keep that awareness of you that is static, attach it with the things that you feel and do and say, connect it with them, but always have that constant awareness that you exist. This is the task that is required. Once you're able to practice that, that awareness you have that you exist, that is static, that's where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. He is constant. He is absolute. He does not change. The emotions of Him being happy, Him being sad, Him being merciful, Him being wrathful, all of those things that He has said are things that translate from that constant into the physical world, or into the mental world, or into the emotional world. Just like it does for us. But in every action of His, He's aware of Himself. And the hadith of the Holy Prophet that Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbah, that whoever understands themselves, they will understand their Lord. So if you put the two together, you also have something that is constant, that's absolute. And that is the awareness of you that you exist. And then there is things that are dynamic. Things, emotions, they come and go. Feelings, they come and go. Job comes and goes. Task comes and goes. Career comes and goes. Children come and go. Everything else is dynamic in this world. What you have to do is attach that awareness that you exist with these things, and then you will realize how these things are just passing and that you are eternal. You're the one sitting in the window watching all of these things pass by. If you become aware of yourself, and then since I told you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the constant, He's the absolute, then that place where you exist, that you are aware that you exist, that is not bound by time and space, you are aware that you exist. If someone was to ask you when you were 5, do you exist? You say yes. Now that you are 40 or 50 or 20 or 30, someone says, do you exist? You say yes. Between that, yes. And when you were 5, there's no difference. So if you were to understand yourself this way, then you can correlate that with the understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That He exists in that place of your awareness, that you are constant. Now, instead of you being aware that you are constant and you exist, attach that awareness as a remembrance or focus or attention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, through that, connect it with everything that is dynamic, that is changing. Now you have built what you can quote unquote call God consciousness. Now, with this, whatever breath that you're spending, you will not spend it on those things that have an expiry date. Why? Because even if you're eating, sleeping, going, working, doing the things that you are going to do in this life, studying, going to work, having a family, even entertainment as well, whatever that you are doing in this world, now it's not going to have an expiry date. Now it's going to be eternal. Why? Because you connected the dynamic, the expiry date products with something which is eternal. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have that the fazila of Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, that one of the movement of his hand coming down like this, right, is better than the worship of jinn and men combined. Meaning, the first human being and the last human being, whatever zikr they were going to do, whatever namaz they were going to recite, whatever sort of hajj or whatever fasting or whatever that they were going to do, that would come into the folder of what we think of worship. And if every jinn was going to do the same, and you put all of that reward on one scale, and then you put the reward of the movement of the hand of Imam Ali alayhi like this in Khandak, this movement would be heavier in weight than the worship reward of all of men and jinn. Why? Because Imam Ali alayhi did not do anything without the constant and the absolute awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where he had attached each breath of his, each action of his, each moment of his life. I mean, he worked, he has a wife, he has children. He goes out as a laborer. Works in the fields with his own hands. He digs wells. He works in a farm. He does whatever he has to do in a day to bring the food and the things that are necessary for his family at the end of the night. If he did not work that day, Bibi Fatima, Hassanan and Bibi Zainab alayhim salam would have nothing to eat that day. But with whatever he did that was dynamic, he attached that static awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, his one movement in Khandak became better than the worship of all men and jinn. Why? Because their worship, maybe they did it to get saved by the fire of hell. Maybe they did it so that they can do a transaction with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they would do such and such and they will get to heaven. But they didn't do that because they considered and that they were aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single breath of theirs, and connected that awareness of themselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then through that awareness all of their dynamics, even taking a breath, became worship. My Ramadan is coming And Ramadan is one of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ramadan means someone who loves deeply. And this is just a word like for us to, what is the depth of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Nobody knows. He only says that, if you want to have a perception, think about how much your mother loves and just multiply that by 70. That's how much I love you. There's no one knows the depth of the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Ramadan means someone who loves deeply. And there is no extent to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, we have to say my Ramadan. We have to say the month of Ramadan. Because Ramadan is one of the names or the quality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He has attached this quality to that month. Why? Because in that month, His love has no boundaries. His love does not have any boundaries anyways, but in that month, He shows the depth of His love for His creations, the way that is not shown or is not felt. I would say it's not felt, because when you fast and you're purifying yourself, that's when you can feel the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He has made some nights special. And in that night we have Laylatul Qadr, which is better than 80 years of worship, which is better than 672,768,000 breaths. That in that one night, you're able to buy what you would have bought in your whole lifetime.